for 2 weeks. She said people worried about toilet paper, so she said you better make sure you have some food
Right.
for
We'll
2
always
weeks.
do that.
Yeah.
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 I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the way everything is being shut down.
Yeah. She said for 2 weeks we're going to be refined to our home.
Yeah.
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 So it's getting pretty serious.
It is. But I don't think it had to get to this point. It didn't need to get to this.
Okay, so we're live back on social media.
Remember, if God be for you,
Amen.
who can be against you?
Nobody.
Nobody.
And we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. So right now we're claiming our
Everything.
victory.
Amen.
Yes. We are back here live. Had to take the break so that we can go ahead and get our national broadcast going on. We are fortunate to have with us none other than the world-renowned artist, Miss Lyric, here with us, a part of the morning crew. We've been starting our first hours off with Dr. Sharon Whitehurst Payne from the second largest school district in California, which is San Diego Unified School District, District E. And we are so fortunate to have right now what I call, I almost want to call her my sis, my friend, but Dr. Akilah. Akilah, I always want to say Weber, but tell me.
That is my last name.
Okay, I can keep it there?
Yes.
Praise the
Hold
Lord.
on, add up 1 second. Did you say Akilah?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Go on, say it, because I know you want to
My
say
name
it.
is Akilah.
You know, she just had to let
That
you
took me
know.
by surprise. I didn't know that.
Yes.
You
Yes,
said
yes,
Dr. I think you said Dr. Weber earlier.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
yes,
this
my name was
is
Akilah.
Dr. Weber, and it's generations, the doctors of the Webers. You know
Oh,
what I'm
right.
saying?
Okay.
And, you know, there's a special love that I have for the Weber family because her mom is not only a mentor and friend, but a teacher, a professor. I called her yesterday, and because she's a state assemblywoman, and I was basically asking her, what's the word from the state? And she said, they're still trying to figure it out. And she said, once we figure it out, I'll come on. But right now, we still trying to get it right. And it was one of those things that so many people talked to Monica Montgomery. She's let off her whole entire staff to work from home, and they're saying the same thing, that there's so many things that they don't know, that they haven't been able to make any additional statements in what's already been put out. But I want to thank our Assemblywoman Weber for we were able to call her. She was able to answer the questions that I did ask her, and we're discussing it today. I want to thank our councilwoman, Monica Montgomery, because she also was ready, available on the phone, talking and sharing. Each one of them have websites from their office that they're going to consistently put out information for the community and the state. We want you to definitely tune in and realize that we have active members that are coming in. Dr. Weber, who's here today, not only is she a doctor, a medical doctor from San Diego Unified School District,
All right.
by way of Xavier College and
Yes.
in the
Xavier University of
and-
Louisiana.
Yes, represent.
you know, I had an attitude when she went there. I was like, no, don't let the baby leave
Yes, he
California.
did. Yes, he
But
did.
She
it
needed
was,
a Southern
it,
experience.
Exactly.
it wasn't
Thank
that. It was just that, we are so protective over our young
Mm-hmm.
people, but we know that those experiences they have changed the world.
That's
And what I
right.
love about her is she came home.
That's
and
right.
she's giving back. And she's now
Amen.
also an elected official.
Yes, I am.
La Mesa.
In the city of La Mesa.
Wow. Yes,
The
yes.
hills.
Okay.
So I want to start off with Dr. Whitehurst, because you just got some
Breaking news. Yes.
some breaking news. So I
Breaking
want you
news.
to take your breaking news.
The LA Unified School District and San Diego Unified School District are doing a joint press release to let them know, the public know, that we're closing for the next 2 weeks, and then we're out for spring vacation. And they should be on the air right now discussing this, representatives from both systems. So we have the two largest school districts in the state of California agreeing to close effective on Monday.
Mm.
And the things that I talked about earlier in terms of food and all of that will remain in place. We will
Yeah.
prepare food and have it available for the children to pick up.
Okay, that's good.
What age is considered to be children?
We have pre-K through 12.
So
Great.
I'm too old to get a sandwich.
We'll talk
Lyric,
about that, but if you
Lyric.
show up.
and that's a good thing. So the research team that is on right now, program director and everybody, let's also tap into the food bank sources and find out where food banks and food pantries are going to be set up, because that is going to be a question for people right now, especially if there becomes a food shortage or things that are not traveling here.
Amen.
Yes,
Dr. Weber,
sir.
I love the fact that you are here. And we got a lot of questions that we need to ask about this virus. First of all, we want to start off with this mask. Go on, Kiki, show them the mask. Put the mask on. This is how she
Like the flight attendants.
Wait a minute. This is how she came in this way. I said, you better get that mask off and stop.
He said, "Get that. Why you got that mask?"
Try to scare our people right off.
I
Like,
didn't put it all the way on.
and I said to myself, because she looked like she
Got
came
the
in with the
little clip,
corona.
you
I said,
make
if you
it
got
tight on
the,
you.
I said, if you got the corona, go back home. So let's talk about the
Barely.
mask and the protective things that we need to do, because as Christian people we just say believe God, but we also got to use wisdom too.
Right.
So Dr. Weber, break it down for
Well,
us.
thank you so much for finally having me on your show, because you are like a big brother to me. I'm like, when do I get the chance to come on? But the mask, thank you for asking, because everybody is talking about the mask. Masks are flying off the shelves like
Yes.
crazy,
Yes.
and preventing those of us in the healthcare industry from actually having masks. The one that you have, the N95, is the mask to use if you are trying to protect yourself from getting a virus like coronavirus. So if you are a medical professional, and you are a medical professional and you are caring for a patient or patients that may have coronavirus or another respiratory illness, that is the mask. Now, that is something that you have to be fitted for. So
Okay.
every year when I go in for my TB screening, I have to be fitted for that mask
Wow.
to make sure that I'm putting it on correctly, because you need to make sure that it's completely sealed around your face
Right.
so that no kind of air droplets or anything can get on the inside. So it's not something that anyone can just kind of pick up. And a lot of times, even when I'm putting it on, because I don't wear it on a regular basis, when I go to get fitted, they have to remind me exactly how to put it over my face. Now, the other masks that are flying off the shelves are just your basic surgical masks that you see people wearing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That will not protect you from someone who has the virus
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't completely cover your face.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that need to be wearing those masks is if you are sick yourself,
Okay.
because that prevents, so if you're coughing inside the mask, it prevents as many of those droplets from getting out.
Okay.
So, but if you aren't sick,
Mhm.
you walking around wearing it is not going to protect you.
Right.
So we've been telling people that if you're not sick, there is no need for you to be wearing a mask.
Okay.
If you are sick, then you need to wear a mask.
Okay.
And those N95s are really for people that are dealing with people with potential coronavirus or another kind of respiratory illness.
Okay. Okay. That's very good news.
Now, I need you to also help us to dispel that black people cannot get the corona. You know what I'm saying? According to Medea,
Right.
that we can't get the corona is based on our melanin. And so if it's true, a lot of folks are gonna be happy that they black right now. But we just want to find out, is that true or not true?
Well, that comes from people looking at the distribution of this particular virus and the fact that you don't see it as much on the African continent.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know enough about this virus to say that people of African descent are, quote, immune from it,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I would not bank on that. So we as people of African descent need to do the same thing as everyone else is doing, making sure that you are washing your hands consistently, making sure that you're getting in between your fingers, that you're doing this for at least 20 seconds, that you're using hand sanitizer, that you're washing down wiping down areas that people are using frequently, and not just count on the fact that we're black. I don't see anybody else that black who has it, and so I can't get it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions that just popped up, what exactly does older adults mean? What is the age threshold? Is it 60 and older or 40 and older?
Oh, that's a really good question. And so a lot of the information that we have is looking back at China, at the data from China, because that's where the first case was reported, and they've been dealing with this a lot longer than we have. And so when they're talking about the age cutoffs in terms of who is at higher mortality, is those that are 60 and older.
Okay.
Mhm.
So 60 and over. And so a lot of people, this one said, should I start stocking up on extra food and supplies?
So, it's always a good idea to have extra supplies in the house. It's always a good idea to have extra water, extra canned goods. And we honestly at this time don't know what's going to happen. We just heard that the school district is closing for 2 weeks prior to spring break. We don't know what else is going to be coming down the line. So it would be a very good idea to make sure that you have not only extra water, extra food, but also your medication. And that's something that people don't oftentimes think of. If you are able to get an extra month, 2 month supply of your medication, that is also recommended.
Very
Yeah,
good.
and you know one thing I love about my wife. See, my wife is a visionary, and she kept on saying, "We need a freezer. We need a freezer." And I'm like, "We don't need a freezer." And so we finally, the Lord
You
blessed
gave
us with a
in.
freezer. That freezer is stocked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got gumbo. I got all kind of stuff
I'm
in
gonna
there.
come stay at your house.
You feel
If
what
I
I'm saying?
get hungry.
I told my wife. She said, "Oh yeah, we got this in there and everything." And the one thing about it, between Food Saver, we don't waste no food because she said, we got the freezer.
Yeah.
And so this is the time that we begin to look at how we go about if there's shortages. And the basic necessities. I want y'all to know that you don't have to have meat to survive.
Right.
Meat is good.
Right.
If you do it, but for those of us that are trying to be more plant-based, there's so many things that we can do to be healthy. The concern that I do have right now is my wife said that she went to start doing some stock up, and she said all the oodles of noodles was gone. And I said, I said, y'all don't be sitting up there all for the next 2-3 weeks eating oodles and noodles. You're going to have a whole nother problem that don't have nothing to do with the corona. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
But you do bring up a good point.
Yeah.
We don't have to just think about what kind of meat we're eating. This
Peas
is
and
probably
beans.
a really good time to sometimes change our eating habits. And full disclosure, I am plant-based vegetarian. But this is a good time to say, what else can we eat? What else can we start to remember to cook at home instead of constantly going to fast food places or out to restaurants? If it happens that we need to stay in our homes for a significant period of time.
My husband has been moving me slowly towards plant-based cooking, and now I can cook collards and beans and peas without ham hocks and even
Yes.
without turkey.
Yes.
Just plain onions and garlic
Yes.
and a little salt and pepper. That's it.
So someone just asked, just the background of what is the coronavirus and do we really know the origin?
So, coronavirus is just a group or a class of viruses that are actually very common in both humans and animals. Kids get it all the time. It's oftentimes what they get colds from. It's just that this particular strain is new and a little bit more virulent or a little bit stronger than the basic coronaviruses that we've seen in the past. We can't say for sure exactly where it came from. We think it originated from a bat, and we know that the first case was in Wuhan, China. But can we say that that is the definite origin at this time, 100%? No.
Right.
Okay, so this is some breaking news. We just found out from our school board member, and I don't want to do it. Could you just, go ahead.
I understand LA is still meeting.
Okay,
I had word 7:15, but they're still in session, so.
Okay,
they're
we'll
in
we'll
session.
hold up on that, but it's going to be very fluid right now. And the one thing that I want to do is make sure that we consistently give you information, even if we do have to go online at odd times of the day to continue to give you information. That's what we're going to do.
All right. Did you just call?
Oh.
Where's the cough drop? Give him a cough drop.
See,
I was on
see,
the diet
Lyric,
the other day and
I
someone
want to say
coughed
this.
and I was
Wait a minute.
cussing him out.
This is why Lyric had to be gone for so long, because
You know, he's the one that needs the mask.
I just pitched
He
it
needs
to
the
her.
mask.
I just pitched it to her while I'm choking on this coffee that went down the wrong pipe. And then she go like, "Did you just cough? Lord Jesus!" Now
Listen, I'm gonna show you
y'all,
about pitching stuff over here to me.
wait. Now y'all know that I'm not gonna pitch nothing else to Liv for the next 2 weeks. Every time she get ready to open her mouth, I'm gonna sit up there and be like, "Say," and Liv don't have nothing to say right now.
So that's how you gonna do me?
Yeah, because I want you to know, we ain't going to even talk about how Lyric's been mistreating me for the last 4 years.
Listen.
It's okay,
I
man.
sung the Wake Up Morning song by myself this
But
morning.
not only did she sing the Wake Up Morning Show, thank you so much.
Thank
Not only
you.
did she sing the Wake Up Morning Show song, then she wanted to take over and try to get people to tell her how good she sung.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like sitting up here like, okay. But first of all, let me say this. Even before people came in this morning, we did a full wipe down of the studio. Lysol sprayed everything because, again, we got to practice what we preach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't be trying to tell everybody else what to do, and then you don't even want to practice it yourself. You know what I'm saying? And yes, Sister Lyric, I did cough, so we're gonna be Lysol in this area all over again. You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna be precautionary. If anybody gonna get sick, it's gonna be Miss Evangel and me. We'll be sick together.
Aw.
But you see, this does help you to not
Yeah.
cough.
Amen.
That's
So,
right.
That's
And you facing my
Right,
direction.
Exactly.
So
Turn toward that.
so
Well, you got
anyway,
the mask.
you see, and I want to say this, Sister Lyric, we have to come together. Let's don't create division
You right,
among
you
the
right,
people.
you right.
You know,
Listen.
folks be sitting up there like this. Look, little boy, you cough, go to mama's house. Big mama's house. Don't you come over here, little boy. Little kid walking the street. I don't know where I'm gonna go because they done kicked me out of both houses. See, don't create the division, y'all.
That's
y'all,
right.
love the children.
That's right.
And help them out. So.
You have to love your children.
Yeah. So let's get back to this. I wanted to bring us in because there is this health scare. And what should we do as a community to support one another, be it from the health perspective, the educational perspective? There are some parents that are still going to have to go to work. There are some Unified School District employees that have to be there to help clean and do different things. So what do they do with their children? How are we going to help together? So I want to pitch that to both of you.
Well, as I talked about earlier, you need to come together. One of the things that my father used to do was to teach the kids himself. We learned math from him,
Mhm.
and then we went to school, and we already knew what was going on. So communities may have to do that to get a parent, gather the neighborhood children, and you work with them as a parent. We can do this.
Amen.
And as a result, my sister taught math in Portsmouth, Virginia, retired after 30 years, and wrote a book on math standards and so forth. And I was a math teacher, and my other two sisters had good math backgrounds. So it can be done. We can do this.
That's right.
We just need to get together, come
That's right.
together on it.
That's right. And I am self-employed, and I was an educator for 10 years. So hit me up if you need me to come gather your children up. My specialty is 8th grade English, ELAR. But hey, you want to hire a tutor? I can sit with your kids for a few dollars.
Now you just saw how she treated me, y'all. Don't have her, because
You're not a child.
don't have her come with your children, because she from Texas. They still beating kids.
That's right. Now we do beats, so if you don't want to no, they have corporal punishment, but you have to sign off on it.
You got really?
Yeah.
You can still whoop kids in Texas?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Lord
At
Jesus.
the beginning of the year, when they do the packets for the parents, then
Really?
you sign if you would like for your kids to receive corporal punishment or not.
Oh,
So you
Lord.
ain't believe it or not? So several parents do.
Wow.
Beat them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
I feel that that's a parent's job. You know, and I'll send them home. You know, way back in the day, they used to have a room at schools where the parents could come and have conferences with their kids, and it was soundproof. And the
You
kid
take
come
them
out
in
just
there,
act so much better.
They act so much
You
better.
know, but parents be coming out like, oh, like, whew, kids be like, and you know, they got that one thing that said, I don't want to hear it. You know?
You know, and I think that they used to take advantage of that stuff. I received some corporal punishment when I was in school, and I think he was a pervert. And I don't think he was using it the right way. Because he would give us licks
Ooh,
for...
you done changed the whole entire subject. This
he would, you know, like I remember one time I signed this book. It was called Slam Book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
remember.
But I signed that, and he gave me 3 licks for that. And it was just the way that he gave me the licks. I felt very uncomfortable. And I just think...
it's uncomfortable, especially,
Yeah, it was like-
when you got hit, huh?
Yeah, and the way he took his time, and the way and it was like, this don't feel right. This, you know, you should let my mama with me because this ain't it. You know, for signing a book, you know.
But you know, those slam books, literally, you know, that was the early stage of bullying. It was
Yeah,
the
you're
beginning
right.
of cyberbullying and things of that
You're right.
nature. Since you done brought it there, let's talk about the kids in their free time now, and
Oh,
how
Lord.
we got to really monitor now social media, because this is the time where kids get bored and they start creating issues via social media. So one of the things about it, Dr. Whitehurst Payne, can we talk about the bullying policy and the cyberbullying policy, since our kids are going to be out and they're going to have more time on social media, so that the kids know that just because you're out, those policies don't change?
They do not change, and it just grieves me about how parents just put the computers, the phones before the
Electronic
children.
devices.
Yes, and just allow them to do whatever. Would you allow them to just go in your house and cut up and do whatever they want to do? And they're allowing them to do that with the electronic media, and that's not right. You're still the parent. It's still your property. You're still the one in charge. You can be friends with the kids, but you also need to remember you are the parent. And I'm sure with your children, you
Oh,
have
most
like a,
definitely. Most definitely. My youngest asked me yesterday, actually, can I have his cell phone? And I looked at him like he had lost his mind. And he said, well, when I'm 16, can I have a cell phone? I said, we'll talk about it then, you know. But there, in my opinion, very little reason for a child to have a smartphone, right? If I choose to get my children phones, they will get those old flip phones so that I can
The
reach
Obama
them.
phones.
Right, exactly. But I guess I have a question. So if the kids are going to be out of school, will they have any kind of curriculum that they're going to be sent home with to do anything? Will there be any online?
right. We talked about that earlier, but just to recap on that, basically, we will have online, we will have hard copies, and it's in negotiations, but we're looking at whether or not we can get a television station to present lessons, so that those who don't have the electronic devices or who don't want to pick up the hard copies can use it
Wow.
on TV. They
So I-
could be presented with those materials.
Right. So I think that families can utilize this as a great time to bond, and to also, you know, understand what it is that your children are doing every day, right? Because now it's going to be up to the families to make sure that those children are doing their lessons, that they're logging on to listen to the lectures, and it's something that you can sit there with your child and make sure that he or she is doing it.
Well, it's wonderful, because that's essentially what I said earlier.
Yeah.
The Bible, since this is a Christian station, the Bible gives the parent and the grandparents the authority to teach and to train the children. That's number one. And this will provide that opportunity for us to do what the Bible wants us to do anyway, which is, as you said, to sit there with them. You don't have to know it all the time. A lot of parents feel that I don't understand and I don't know. Well, wherever your child is, if he or she understands anything, have them explain it to you.
Right.
And if there's a problem with you understanding what that child is saying, then the child doesn't understand it. And you can then talk to the teachers later about what's going on from a knowledge base. My child could not explain it to me. Because if you've learned it, then you can pass it on. And if they can't pass it on, they haven't learned it.
Yeah, I used to always talk about dual learning and reciprocal teaching, and that we learn from our children, and because sometimes we think that we can only be the teacher, but we're dual learning. We're learning some things together,
That's
and
right.
then there's a reciprocal teaching where we're teaching each other the process. And so I always encourage to have those dialogues, because dialogues will literally begin to help you to understand where sometimes the miscommunication is. And so that's very important. Dr. Weber, you are also an elected official for the La Mesa city. In La Mesa, what are the plans? Because I know that they're probably hitting everybody. What are your plans, or what are the plans that are taking place in your area?
Thank you so much for asking. We talked about that a little bit at our city council meeting on Tuesday. Our staff, our city manager is in constant communication with the county, and we are basically following any regulations, any guidelines, any recommendations that the county has. We're very lucky that we haven't had any cases in La Mesa so far, knock on wood, but we're just basically going off of what the county is recommending at this time.
Okay.
I do want to go back to something that you had mentioned before about how we can come together as a community. And yes, making sure that the kids still have their education and their extracurricular activities, or exercise is important, but also make sure that you're checking on your neighbors, those that are elderly or those that are sick, to make sure that they have the supplies that they need as well. So as you're going to the store and you're getting your toilet paper, your toilet tissue, your canned goods, if you know that you have a neighbor that's elderly, if you know that you have a neighbor that has some kind of disability and that's not able to get out and do the things that he or she needs to do, then this is the time to do it for them, right?
That's wonderful.
Ask
That's
them, say, hey,
beautiful.
I'm going someplace. Is there anything that you need? Do you have this? Do you have that? Because I can pick it up for you.
Love
And
thy
I
neighbor.
love it. That's it, because we were talking earlier about elderly parents and relatives, but your neighbor is the concept that the Bible teaches us. We must look out for them also.
Exactly.
So, because I'm ignoring Lyric right now.
Good.
No, my question was, what about the mass areas, the prison system,
Yes.
the hospitals, the senior homes? How do we feel that this virus is going to affect them? And I'm really concerned about the senior homes and the prison system.
Right. Well, I mean, we saw the outbreak in Washington was around a senior facility, right?
Okay.
So, and we know that those in that age group are at higher risk, not only because of their age, but also because a lot of times they have the other comorbid conditions that we talk about in terms of diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, emphysema, those kind of things that put you at increased risk for contracting, any kind of virus, including coronavirus. And so, if you have a family member or a friend in those places, you need to ask them, what are the policies and procedures that they have implemented at this point? Are they restricting visitors, right? Because that's exactly what they should be doing at this point. Are they restricting visitors? If someone happens to get sick, do they have an area where they can be quarantined while they're waiting to be evaluated to see what is going on? Do they have a quick way of transporting them to the emergency room if something needs to happen? And the same thing with the prison system. The prison system is run by the county, and the county has their methods in place. So they are able to quickly get those patients out. They have physicians that are there to monitor patients. But because you have people that are in close confinement, it is always a risk that it could spread quickly. And so I know that they have their policies and procedures in place, so that if someone gets sick, if someone has a temperature, if someone is constantly coughing, to remove them from like a general population area, evaluate them, bring them to the hospital to get tested.
And it stands to reason also that it would have to come in, so it's somebody visiting, walking in,
Yeah.
bringing it,
Right.
because it should have been isolated to
And
others.
also like doing special screening for people that have just been recently
Right.
arrested and are coming into the jail system. So even if you
yes.
say, okay, we're not going to allow for visitors or we're going to restrict visitors, there's also policies that have to be in place for screening people who are coming into the jail.
That's
And
right.
for employees too.
Right.
I know that my mom, like I said, works at a state institution. She works at the mental institution, and I know a couple weeks ago when I was at home, they restrict no visitors were allowed because she had to get special. They shut down all the access gates. They're only allowing one way in to the state hospital, one way out, and they're screening everyone that comes through there. Because I'm in Texas, so my car is in California. I had to use my mom's vehicle, and we had to break down a whole thing for the security to let them know, like, hey, I got to drop my mom off at work and I got to pick her up. But they are really restricting people from coming in to to those areas.
Yep. And one of the things is that this is having a great impact. I was just meeting with the head of the unions, and he's saying that the labor union, that so many of the workers right now are losing so much money because the conventions are shutting down, and there's a panic. He said they're even setting up food banks for their members because there's no work,
Right.
and everything is shutting down. Las Vegas, what happens in Vegas? Gonna stay in
Stay in
Vegas now
Vegas. It's
because
most
they're
definitely
shutting
stay there.
everything down. And I was excited about the Stellar Wars.
I
I'm
was
covered in
too.
the blood. I'm going. We had everything set up, and then I knew that it was gonna be over. You know what I knew was gonna be over? When MGM said, "Yes, the all-you-can-eat buffets are now officially closed at all of our facilities,"
Yeah.
and everybody said, "The buffets is gone." I knew then the church folks wasn't
Yeah.
coming to Vegas.
I got to figure out my
Yeah,
plane
you
ticket.
know,
But,
yes,
but
Yeah.
you're raising a very good point there, and that's why I'm serious about this. We really need to pray
Yeah.
for our federal folks there, Nancy Pelosi and that group, who are trying to look out for the very people you're talking about. A payroll tax cut will not help the people you're talking about because they're not getting a check at all. They're not working, they're not going to get a check. But they're trying to, I know the House is trying to go ahead and find a way to provide financial funds for these people right now. And I mean, we just need to pray that God will really touch minds and hearts, that we don't look for a way to give people who already have a lot more money and to give it to those who need, such as those people who are not getting checks because it's shut down.
Yeah.
They cannot work.
So that's a good question. Inside the Unified School District, teachers and all the staff that this are going to be notified that they're going to go on this hiatus. Question number one will be, how does that affect teacher and staff pay? And number two, does that mean that the school year will be extended?
Good
Two
question.
questions that are being worked on right now.
Okay.
And that's why earlier I talked about how it's important that we align with the state. Because the state will then say, they potentially could say, we'll end the year, with those weeks lost. Or they could say, we'll extend it. Back east, they have something called snow days, which means that you make them up in the summer. So that all of those logistics are being worked out in terms
Okay.
of how we will handle it. But our goal is to ensure that folks are still taken care of, because this is not something that they did or had
Right.
anything to do with
Right.
nor the family.
With you being an elected official, I would like to ask, there's been all this uproar about every election year we have a disease. 2004 we had the SARS, and then we had the bird flu, and then we had the swine flu, then we had the MERS, then we had Ebola. And so they're saying every election year we have a disease that hits us. And so, but in my experience, we've not had anything to shut down the world like the coronavirus. So what are your take? Do you think it has anything to do with political?
There she go with that conspiracy theory.
No, I just want to know.
See from Terrell.
Listen here,
Terrell.
I'm from
No,
Texas.
James.
I'm just asking.
No, I mean, you're asking a very valid question because these are the things that people are saying and they're thinking. I mean, the reality is that every year, these viruses coming, it's cyclical, right?
Mhm,
So we know every year we're going to get the flu, some form of influenza, right? Around a certain period of time. We're going to get, we've got the cold season and things like that. So that happens regardless. The thing that's different about this particular one has been our response,
Okay.
or I should say our lack of response, right? So, someone was talking to me the other day and was saying, gosh, I remember like when the Ebola, we never had to deal with it. It was like, it came out and it was contained. And I brought up there were two differences. One, when Ebola happened, the world was notified immediately. When this started happening in China, the world was not notified.
Wow.
In 2019?
Right?
That's right.
So it was something that they were trying to suppress, and it only got out because a doctor said the world needs to know, and he leaked it out.
And he died.
And he ended up, unfortunately, dying from, coronavirus.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
However, if it had not been for him, we would not have found out when we did.
Wow.
Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is once we found out, we did not prepare. And because we did not prepare, we are now in panic mode, and we are rushing to do things that we should have already done once we found out.
That's right. People perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yes.
Well, let me say this. I'm going to go to some great gospel music. And after that, I'm going to get Miles McPherson on the line because the churches are going to be impacted based on some of the new rulings. But I do want to end off with this. For every philosopher that's out there that's getting ready to try to make money on trying to be deep in this situation, y'all don't send no money. I mean, you can listen to stuff, but y'all don't get all, it was a conspiracy. Let me tell you, I found all that stuff. Let's just deal with the facts. And all the drama and everything else, y'all just be like, God bless you, click and turn them off. Because some folks is going to try to make money off of this.
I know the pastor's about to go into warfare praying because the tithes is going to be affected by this. They're going to be praying. We're going to stand together.
Okay. All right. We just got one more announcement. So we're going to have to shut down social media for 5 minutes again. And then we're going to come back on and we'll come back on live with Miles McPherson. So y'all tap back in, give me 5 minutes, and then the worldwide system will be in effect. All right? Thank you so much. We're going to get back to some great gospel music. You know what? We're going to go right back to the Clark Sisters Pray for the USA right here on GODRadio1.com.